Hey everybody, it is your boy, Onix. And who is this beautiful man with these beautiful headphones and those beautiful glasses, even though we both have that. But...
We both have glasses. It's Rudy! What's up, guys? Hope you all are doing well.
Hello. Hope you guys are doing well. Today we are doing a fun and quick review of Spider-Man Miles Morales. Or is it Marvel's Spider-Man Miles Morales? Or is it Sony's Marvel's Spider-Man Miles Morales?
/ Disney.
Guys, we both were lucky enough to get a PS5 on launch day, and we were lucky enough to play Miles Morales. We both really enjoyed the game, so we're going to do a nice review. If you don't know our review scale, check out the description. There will be some information there. And yeah, we hope you enjoy this fun review. You ready to do this, buddy?
Let's do it, man.
Let's go.
TGR.
So before we get into the full review, we always do our reviews on 4 sections. We do gameplay, visual, audio, and story. So let's just jump right into the gameplay of Spider-Man Miles Morales. I want to pose a question. How do you feel about the gameplay in comparison to the older Spider-Man game?
In comparison to the older Spider-Man game, I mean, I felt like it was a natural evolution, so to speak.
Right.
Like, the formula that they had, they tweaked it and they made it just a little bit better. Like, I feel like the dodging was just as good as it was before. I mean, you could tell that they took the base canvas that was there from the Spider-Man from PS4 and went ahead and kind of just built on it, similar to other games that start off as quote-unquote DLC and then become so big and so rampant that they become their own thing.
Absolutely.
I do think that the whole like Venom Punch, electricity, everything that's there, it was cool. I like the way that they implemented it and kind of like integrated it with the game. What about you?
Likewise, right. So a little backstory, I guess you could say. So Spider-Man, the gameplay flow of Spider-Man and Miles Morales is you have kind of 3 ways of interacting with the world. You have your combat, you have stealth, which is kind of implemented with the combat as well, and then you have a bunch of different side missions and also the traversal of the world. So when you're traversing Manhattan, you're swinging around, you can take fast travel if you want, and you're doing some really cool Spider-Man tricks. In combat, you have your typical like superhero action game, right? Where you do like certain like light moves, you do like pulls, you do like dodges, like you said earlier, and then you also have, like I mentioned, with the traversal, you also have like the fast travel, which isn't really important. I mean, not with PS5 anyway.
I agree.
But you also have those side missions, and there are a lot of side missions. And those are actually pretty varied. I actually really liked how the side missions kind of went. There was a lot of different variety with those. But one thing, so when we talk about the combat in Spider-Man, and I may have mentioned this before to you, I don't think we ever reviewed the first Spider-Man, I don't think
we did.
But every time we talked about Spider-Man leading up to release, I was very worried. I never bought Spider-Man myself. Rudy was the one that bought it, and I think Matt did as well.
Yeah.
And then we just kind of borrowed each other's copies.
Yeah.
And I really was very surprised. The story in the first Spider-Man was fantastic, but what sold me in that game was the gameplay. I am not a big fan of the Arkham series in particular.
You don't say.
Most people that know us know that I've talked about that before. And the main thing that turned me off from Arkham City was the combat. The combat was very basic, and I hate saying this, you feel like Batman, but they did make you feel the power of Batman. They made you feel his physical training, but it was just too simplistic for me. I didn't have much expression in the sense of variety. Like you think of Devil May Cry, and you have so many ways of tackling enemies, right? And Spider-Man, the first one, did that so well. You could do like so many different things. You could jump up, kick a guy off the building, web him up and let him like get captured on the side of the building, right? Or you can like throw him up, throw a remote mine, like electrocute him, wait for him to come down, yank him, throw him around. You had a lot of options, and that was like expanded in a way with Miles Morales, at least his basic moveset, because he has less gadgets. But when it came to combat, like you mentioned the Venom Punch. So it's these abilities, you hold L1, you press a certain button, and he does different attacks that are infused with electricity. They break certain enemy types that you need to do those attacks for, because they might be too bulky, or they might dodge or block other attacks of those friggin' underground.
The shield
don't hit me.
And then like the
yeah. So I really like that about the Spider-Man game so far. They have a lot of variety with the combat. Like I feel like you could do a kind of sick combo video.
You probably could.
Which is really cool. Like you don't get to see that a lot in Western superhero games. So I really, really like that combat. And then of course the traversal, man.
Yeah, it's amazing. They nailed it. I mean, they
nailed
had a
it
perfect
the first
canvas
one.
to do it, but it was
yeah,
it was good, man. Like the beautiful thing that I really enjoyed about all of this was the fact that like it felt like riding a bike.
Yeah,
you literally like you got in there and like it was just like, yep, this is Spider-Man.
I remember how to play this.
Yeah, it felt good. It felt good.
It did. And the swinging, like they didn't add much to it, but what they did add, like doing tricks in the middle of the air, right? You hold your square button and you press a certain direction or a combination of directions, and you can do certain tricks to get experience that also leads you to have more Venom bar. Because in the game, you unlock this Venom move that lets you kind of like get a jump in the air, so get more air while you're swinging. So like having that added to it was just such a good idea, because it made it even more fun. Like swinging in the first one was good. I never really got bored of it, but I could see that if you really like went for everything and played 30-40 hours, I could see it getting a little repetitive, because at some point you're just swinging,
especially with the cinematic music that comes in every single time. Every single time.
Which they still did that in Miles Morales.
Yeah.
But I like the way the music was done in Miles Morales was, but we'll get to that.
Yeah, we'll get it.
But yeah, so the swinging, like the animations, like it felt so smooth when like Spider-Man is like, Miles is swinging and he's doing his little tricks like loop-de-loops and crap, and all of a sudden you press R2 to get back into the regular swing, and you see him kind of like go into the animation of swinging from that pose. That's really good attention to detail. Like it made the swinging more fun because of that alone.
I agree.
Did you ever mess up while swinging and doing a trick?
All the time. Like if you're watching this, you feel free to watch my gameplay. Like I screwed up like a lot. But
it's so funny.
It is. And like I have to say that I agree with you. Like the animation is so freaking good, because like as you see, like we all know Miles is learning. He like not that much time has passed since
it's been a few months, I think.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So he's still learning, and like you can see like from his animations and his movement that he's still a noob. He still doesn't know how to like properly like balance himself,
Absolutely.
And even if it's just like the little thing of like him actually, drinking a cup of coffee, like that was just such a cool little like tidbit. It was
very cute. Yeah.
So I agree, dude. Very well done animations in mid swing and whatnot.
Absolutely. The like fully stealth sections were gone. The game does want you to use more stealth, because it is very advantageous to knock somebody out without getting seen. That makes the enemy encounters a lot easier. And in this game, they are a little bit harder because there's just more stuff to combat you. Like you mentioned, there's these Roxxon dudes that use shields, and when you use Venom on them, they like absorb the electricity and shoot it back. And that wave of energy like suppresses your Venom powers. That shit was so annoying. Oh my god, I hated getting hit by that. Not only do you lose a chunk of health, but you can't do the stuff that'll help you. And I had in the game, your suits have different mods, like visor mods and suit mods, and I had the one where you would get health back from hitting people that were venomed. I mean, that was hella useful. It would save me a lot. So when you're suppressed, you can't get your health back. Pain in the ass.
It is.
But I'm glad they got rid of the stealth sections. There are some stealth challenges that were actually really annoying. But
you're literally taking like the words out of like my mouth, dude. I hated all of the stealth stuff. I hate it. I hate it. Yeah, and this is just a general thing, nothing to do with like Miles Morales or anything like that. I hate it when a game forces you to be stealth. I like options, and I think that's why the gameplay in Metal Gear Solid 5 was so good, because you have a multitude of options. You want to be stealthy? Go for it. You can. You want to go ahead and be Rambo? Go for it. You can. So being forced into any stealthy situation, and the moment that you get caught, it's like game over.
It's like game over, yeah.
I'm not a fan of it. Not a fan of it at all.
Yeah, I totally agree. And like, it would be one thing if it like, and I get it, they're stealth challenges. They were supposed to kind of help you master it, and it makes sense for Miles Morales to do those because he's supposed to get better at being Spider-Man.
Correct.
So like thematically, it made sense. From a gameplay perspective, it just wasn't as fun for me to do those stealth challenges. Even some of the trophies were kind of hard to get. Like, I didn't even bother trying to do like there's like a 100 combo trophy, and my God, like I think I got to like I think I barely broke 50, and that was like really trying, because when you're trying to do combos, like you're obviously more open to getting hit. So any little hit will like mess up your combo meter. So
yeah, no, thank you. No.
So that combo of combat, traversal, and of course the side missions and story missions, it made a really good package. It honestly, in terms of gameplay, Spider-Man Miles Morales delivered. It really did.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%, man. Like I said, it's like riding a bike. The moment that I like picked up the controller, well, DualSense is a whole other conversation. But the moment that I like picked up the DualSense and like started playing the game, I was like, yes, this is Spider-Man. It felt like home in regards to playing Spider-Man.
And I guess let's just quickly touch on the DualSense. I didn't know, besides the haptic feedback, which is just really good vibrations, I didn't notice much of the adaptive triggers being used. I did notice there's a little bit of a pull when you're swinging.
Yes.
But that's kind of it. It was actually a little disappointing. Demon Souls, which of course has the bow and like you get a lot of the adaptive trigger with the bow and arrow.
Correct.
But with Miles Morales, it was just really simply used, which it's not a bad thing. I mean, obviously it's a launch title. I don't expect it to have all the things. But I thought it would have been used a little bit more interesting when I read that it was going to be used for Miles Morales. So still cool that it's there. So
yeah, I mean, I would agree with you. I just want to, like, for the people that are watching, like, that haven't played it and don't have a PlayStation 5, Astro's Playroom is like haptic feedback on steroids. It is everything everything in that world gives you some form of feedback. So I to be 100% frank, I don't expect that level of haptic feedback in titles
in every game.
Like I wouldn't expect that at all.
Because that game was of course built to show off the features.
It's a tech demo.
Yeah, a really damn good tech demo. I mean,
an amazing tech demo.
Well, that's
it's worthy of the praise.
Absolutely.
But
we're talking about Miles Morales.
But we're talking about Miles Morales. And in terms of haptic feedback, I was happy with it. Me personally, like I was like,
no, for sure.
Like, you know, I guess I'm going in not expecting much different from Spider-Man PS4. Which is why I was like, oh, this is a prettier version, which amazingly it is prettier.
Oh, it looks good. Yeah.
But yeah, no, that's just me, man. I was happy.
No, for sure. So yeah, gameplay wise, we both liked it.
Yes.
So next, let's talk about the visuals. And of course, you already just said the game is very pretty.
but there's a lot of things that are going on now. Before we get into it, I have to ask you. Did you play it primarily on fidelity or performance?
So as soon as I booted it up, I went to performance. Because you already know me, and you yourself feel the same way. We prefer frames over resolution. But I did want to try fidelity because of the ray tracing, which, yes, hella impressive. Ray tracing, seeing those reflections was... I mean, it was amazing, especially when you go from the fidelity to performance and you see like, oh wow, you don't even see the pedestrians and shit. Like, yeah, it is very impressive to see the ray tracing. What? No, it's performance all the way, baby.
Yeah. I kind of agree with you, man. Like, even the times that I was streaming on YouTube, like I would switch to and from, and you could see the frame rate just totally like tank. And like I understand why it is going to take a performance hit, but for me, like. I guess because I'm playing more on PC lately than I am on console, like You can tell, like,
absolutely,
you can tell, man, big time. And like to kind of piggyback on the ray tracing bit that you mentioned, like, yes, it is beautiful, it's awesome, but I don't think that the cost was worth it.
Absolutely not, and that's kind of it. Like, I think I don't know if they'll ever do it. I know that somebody on Twitter tweeted to Insomniac about having a 1080 ray traced 60 FPS mode, and see, if they did that, I'd would totally jump on that, because the performance, I believe, is like 1440p, I think, which, I mean, it looks super crisp to me. But I would totally take 1080 ray tracing with 60 FPS, just because, like, the ray tracing effects are really cool. They really are. I just think that performance really matters, and honestly, like you said, it's crazy how choppier it looked. I had some friends over, and they obviously saw it, and they were like, "Yo, let me see the PS5." I'm like, "Okay, fine." And I kind of told them about Spider-Man, and when I showed them, they were like, "Wait, what do you mean by smooth?" I'm like, "Well, here, I'll show you." And they were like, when I went from performance to fidelity, they were like, "Oh, I can't really tell a difference." I'm like, "Right, look at Spider-Man swinging around. Just pay attention for 5 seconds." They were like, "Okay, all right, now I'm gonna switch back." And then they saw it, they were like, "Oh, damn, yeah, okay."
Dude, the first time that I ever experienced what you're just talking about was when The Last of Us Remastered came out on a PlayStation 4, and they had the same thing where you could, like, switch to, like, I don't know if it was 1080 60 or what the resolutions were, but it was just as bad. Plus motion blur.
Man. And the shadows too. The shadows were, like, super sharp on Last of Us Remastered versus the performance mode.
Correct.
But yeah, so definitely performance overall. But besides that, even with performance, even with the effects tuned down, textures looked incredible. Like, if you look at the material in particular, the suits, like the cat suit that you get, which I guess it's kind of a spoiler. Sorry,
no, it's not. They freaking tweeted it, man. Like, if you're not following anyone on Twitter, like, you should.
Yeah, sorry, I guess, if I spoil it for you. But so, like, there's a suit that you get at the end of the game where it's like you have a cat on your backpack, and then, like, he's wearing, like, a hoodie. Dude, I went into photo mode just to mess around. Yeah. And the hoodie, oh my god, like, you see the threading. It's like, damn, like, some of the textures don't look as good. Like, some of the NPCs, their faces don't look all, that great or anything like that, which is normal from open world games or open world-ish games. But man, those textures, especially the main characters.
Totally agree with you, man. That, and, like, even with the ray tracing being turned off, like, the lighting was still good in my opinion. Like, the obviously, yes, there's more reflections and things like that, and I feel like shadows were a little bit more refined, but not enough for me to be like, man, I miss the ray tracing.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
And like, if, let's say, the next Spider-Man comes out and it just is better optimized and harnesses the full potential of the PlayStation 5 and the RDNA 2, maybe we'll see something better. I don't know.
Half RDNA 2 or whatever.
Yeah, whatever it is.
But yeah, so overall, though, good visual package. The game looks fantastic. But how does the game sound?
Oh, bro, audio is like amazing. The audio, like, I played headphones on the entire time, and the music that we got copyright claims for,
we did?
Oh yeah, we totally got copyright claims. The first stream, man. The first
that's
stream,
hilarious.
when I, like, booted it up and I started, like, playing, we got, I think it was, like, Jaden Smith's song, I want to say.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, that makes sense. The vocal songs, yeah.
Yeah, it is.
I thought it was, like, for the background music. I'm like, no, really? No, I was going to use some of that for this review. But good.
Yeah, and then the last song with, like, the credits, like, I, like, started, like, singing over it because I was like, I don't want to deal with it.
Oh, man.
the music, though, overall the music was amazing. Like, exactly what I wanted from that game, and the setting and everything. The overall, like, sound from, like, the surround sound, if you were to call it that. These aren't, 3D audio or 3D the PlayStation 3D headphones or whatever. Yeah. So for me, it's, I don't know, man. Like, I enjoyed the audio that came from it. It was good. The surround sound was decent. Sound effects were really good. Honestly, no complaints on my part. I do feel like there are other games that do a better job, but I mean, that's just me. Like, personal preference.
Yeah, no, I mean, for sure, I get that. Like, I you know me. When I play on my consoles, I usually don't play with headphones. I play at my sound bar,
right?
Which is it's a mid to high end range sound bar. So it's got good audio fidelity, and in terms of bass, really damn good bass. Like that thing when you use the venom punches and it feels heavy. Obviously the soundtrack, because it's Miles Morales, he's a teenager, he's Latinx, black, so he listens to hip hop, and the soundtrack, like the Spider-Verse movie, was hip hop infused, and I adored that. Like I actually found a soundtrack on YouTube Music, and I started listening to it, and every single song just has that like orchestra hip hop thing, and it's so damn good. I really, really enjoyed it, like a lot. So in terms of sound design, in terms of music,
right,
fantastic. I really, really, really enjoyed that package as well. Really, really good.
Yeah, I mean, OST is good. I don't think there's like any. How do you feel about the like, obviously you mentioned the venom punches, but overall, like the sound of like when you were like going through the mall, which is not a spoiler because Insomniac shared that, but like when you're going through like the mall and like you're hearing like the crumbling of the concrete and things like that, the echo-ness when you went into the training facility. Don't want to spoil anything in regards to that, but what were your thoughts on that?
It was just good. It was just really well done. Like it felt like I was watching a Spider-Man movie, honestly.
I felt
especially
like that
during those like set pieces. Exactly, exactly. And when I showed it off to my friends, like I showed them like a combat sequence, and they were like, "Yo, I felt like I was like, when like in older games, like you go into you do like an action set piece and it goes into a cinematic. I thought you were gonna go into a cinematic while in combat, but it never happened. Like, it looks really good, and the audio design really helped with that. So,
is that the whole story though?
What do you mean?
Nothing. That was
a segue. That was a segue.
It's okay. I alley-ooped and it just totally failed. It's all good.
But no, Rudy, that was not the whole story. Let's go ahead and talk about probably the biggest the biggest part of the game, I guess. I think maybe the story.
Yes, let's talk about the story.
I'm gonna ask you overall, man. What did you think of the story of Miles Morales?
The story was really good. It's just. I felt like, and I think we've talked about this before, like Miles Morales, like the Miles Morales like universe, if you were to call it that, like the antagonists in those storylines just aren't as good as Spider-Man's, I feel like. And
they're definitely, I mean, I don't know many. Like I
don't know many either, unfortunately.
Yeah, like I've never read the comics.
Same.
Like I didn't read the Spider-Man Ultimate, or Ultimate Spider-Man. I've only seen Into the Spider-Verse, which that incorporated most of Spidey's, not Miles Morales' villains. And then, playing the game, you got Tinker, you got Prowler. Okay, Prowler, I forgot about Prowler. He was in Spider-Verse, and Prowler is definitely a Miles Morales antagonist. He's the uncle, right?
Yeah.
But, besides those two, I genuinely don't know.
Right.
So, just based off of this debut for gaming, Tinker was a decent villain. Prowler is definitely really interesting. If you've watched Into the Spider-Verse, you may have thought that something was going to happen with him a little more. Like I thought he was going to, the thing is they changed a lot. So every Spider-Man, like Spider-Verse teaches you, has some sort of death in the family that gives him that drive, right? With Miles Morales, the death happened before he was Spider-Man. I mean, the Miles Morales of the game.
Right.
Because he was, it was his dad. Which is, I don't know if his dad dies in the comics or not. I'm not really sure if he does at some point.
Let us know.
But he died into Spider. Yes, please. But he died in the friggin' games. Into the Spider-Verse movie, though, they had his uncle die. Which I guess it makes sense because his uncle, like Peter Parker's uncle, is the one that died as well. So it kind of gave that connection. Like Uncle Ben, what's his name? Uncle, he said it, Uncle Aaron. It was Aaron.
Yeah.
I think. But yeah, so it was really interesting, the changes that they did with the character from what the previously idea that I had of Into the Spider-Verse. But yeah, so I will agree with you that for a debut game, the villain was a little weak. Tinker was interesting, more so because of the character itself. more than the actual villain side of it.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
like the loss that they, and I guess should we talk about spoilers after this point? Like, should we give a spoiler warning?
So I guess let's just before we talk the spoilers, let's just do a really, really quick summary. Obviously, we said it earlier. This is a few months after the events of the first Spider-Man. Miles Morales is in training. After this Rhino escape, Peter Parker feels confident enough to let Miles be by himself, and he goes to Europe with Mary Jane. And then some stuff happens with this Tinker and Roxxon, which is a group of like Elon Musk kind of people, you know. And they I mean, really, you know, they're trying to do this like new energy source that is super good for the environment and stuff, but it's apparently killing people. And then you have the Underground, which are a group of underground people that are trying to take out Roxxon.
They're the mole people.
Miles, exactly. And Miles is kind of caught in the middle. Yeah. So, you know, typical superhero setup, but of course you have the flavor of Miles Morales.
Right.
So yes, from now, I guess we are going to talk spoilers. So if you don't want to hear any spoilers from the end of the story, skip to the time on the screen. Okay, so yeah, what did you think of Finn being the Tinker?
So here's the thing. In regards to Finn being the Tinker, I thought it was... and I don't know if it's the same in comics, because again, guys, I didn't read the comics, but I feel like it was a very convenient thing that a potential love interest became the villain. The way that, like, it was her brother, right?
Yeah, her brother was the one that died. Her brother was the one that helped create the energy source.
Right.
And he was getting sick,
Right, because of that. I felt like that was very, how could I say this? This is very
cliche?
Cheap, cliche, same thing. Like, the moment that it happened, I was just like, all right, I didn't see that coming. Like, like it is what it is. It is what it is.
It is definitely a very typical superhero movie.
Yes.
Or superhero movie.
No, you said it right. You said it right. When the game ended, I felt like I was watching Spider-Man 2.
Yeah. Which Spider-Man 2, my personal favorite.
We're talking Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man 2, by the way.
Yeah. Oh God, amazing Spider-Man. I didn't even bother watching the second one. That's serious.
Really?
Okay, different topic. I hated the first one. Oh my God, Andrew Garfield was a pretty decent Spider-Man, but my God, that movie was such trash. Oh. And Lizard Man was such they also okay, hold on, we're gonna jump all over the place.
Talk about that another time.
Yeah. But I agree. I think that it was a little bit of a cliche story, but I think like they kind of had to for two reasons. One, this was supposed to be an expansion originally, ended up being a standalone game, so they probably already had the story written to feel more of an expansion. And also, it's the first outing of Miles Morales in game. But the other thing though, like. And I don't know if you did feel this way as well. I think you did. I think you mentioned at one point. Like, even though I saw a lot of stuff coming, the ending somehow still made me feel a little emotional.
Same.
And I think it's due to I 100% it pretty much. I didn't do all the trophies, but I 100% as much as I could. I went through all the little hidden things. I got all the parts, all the suits, all this stuff, right? The time capsules, I think, because I 100%ed everything and I went for everything.
Right.
The time capsules, I looked at each one. I read each description, or I listened to Miles talking about it, and those kind of gave me a little bit more of the backstory to their characters, right? So I think that kind of made me feel a little bit more invested in that story. So when the end happened and she sacrificed herself, I was kind of like, oh man, that's kind of sad.
I don't know. I guess I'm an empath, I guess. I don't know. But because when I saw that, like, I was like, oh man, like, and if you listen closely to like my playthrough, like you'll hear me go like, I did that, and like just like hold it in. I was just like, damn, that sucks. Like, it was a sad moment, and
absolutely
very sacrificial.
Absolutely. And it felt natural too. It didn't feel like a ham-fisted, like, she just like did a 180 out of nowhere. Like, she was 100% committed to what she wanted to do. Which, at points I'm like, okay, just listen, Finn.
Yeah.
But
which is why, like, I didn't like her arc overall, because it was very kind of just like, dude, all you have to do is just listen.
Right. Which they're also 17 years old. So what 17-year-old really listens, though, when her brother is dead and she really has this anger? Most 17-year-olds probably don't have the capacity to think past that. They're really angry, emotional beings, 17-year-olds. So, but either way, I still think that the end was warranted.
Okay.
And there's a correlation here with Peter Parker as well. And in the first Spider-Man game, he lost Aunt May, which fucking bold move by Insomniac to kill off Aunt May in the first game. Which we never talked about that, but I just wanted to add that.
No, you're right. You're right.
So I guess we'll see. I mean, he also did lose his father in the first game, so I guess that could be the anime correlation more so than Finn. But still. Also, I do want to mention that those little did you do the side stories with his uncle, with the Prowler?
No.
To find like all the music?
No, dude, I literally plowed through the main mission, like the main story, and I did very little side quests. I did the main story and then went on to Demon's Souls.
Okay, so doing that actually gave you a lot more of like backstory with the uncle and the dad.
I'd imagine.
Which was really good. I really enjoyed that part. Did you do the hidden packages or no?
No, I literally found the catsuit, and then I was like, all right, cool, awesome. Now on to Demon's Souls.
Damn.
Dude,
okay, so
like, I know that you, and shout out to Rain. I know that you and Rain like loved this game and like played the hell out of it.
Yeah.
That's how I felt with Spider-Man PS4. This one, I was like, all right, let's get through it. Boom. Let's go on to the next one. Boom.
That's little side quest. There's recordings that your dad, like that his dad left him, and every time you go to a place and you like solve the very small puzzle, you get the next part of the chase. It's like a little goose chase, and it was really, really nice. Like as you're swinging around town listening to like Miles' dad, Miles is like, oh man, this feels like I'm talking to him. It was like a really emotional way to end the story. Even though the story itself had ended, that side quest, I felt like that was like a prologue kind of thing,
Okay.
Or epilogue, rather.
Yeah. I understood you, but yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's cool. That's cool.
But yeah, man. So I think the story was good. It wasn't the best. I still think the first game had a better story overall, but it's also a much longer, much bigger story. It was the origin story, not of Spider-Man, but of Doc Ock. Yeah. So you had to do a lot more with it. So yeah. No, but I think for Spider-Man 2, whenever that game happens, I think it'll have a much more grand story, and I can already see it. We're gonna have 2 playable characters, baby. We're gonna switch between Miles and Peter Parker.
Do you know what would be really cool?
What?
You know what would be really cool? Online or local co-op.
What the hell? That would be insane cool if they do that. Oh man.
I know, but that would be really. Think about it. One could be Miles, one could be Peter Parker. Like boom.
That would be cool, dude. I mean, we'll see. Maybe they can have a mode like that, but we'll see.
You never know. You never know. It'd be cool. We'll see what happens.
Hell yeah.
I don't know. It's an open world game. Who the hell knows?
Yeah, right. But yeah, so that's it. So, all right, we have covered everything from gameplay to story.
Cool.
Time to give our official TGR stamp, baby.
What are you gonna give it?
What? Well, okay.
Yeah,
fine.
man.
Typically, this kind of game, I would probably go with a silver, right? Typically, but I think it did enough right to keep me glued, and it wasn't. Like I started thinking about it, and I thought, okay, is it because it's on a brand new console? Is it like a flashy new game? And it wasn't that, because I had a lot of different things I could do. I could play other games on a PS5, like you said. There's other stuff coming out on Xbox Game Pass on PC that I also wanted to play, but I just kind of kept coming back to Miles Morales, and it's just that good. So I'm gonna give it a gold. That gets a TGR gold for me. Yeah.
You okay?
I am okay.
We always joke that he's the one that always gives silvers, and I'm the one that always gives gold. I'm gonna give it a gold as well. I think that, and not because of, I feel like the weakest link for me was the story.
Okay.
But the gameplay was enough for me to be satisfied. The music, the visuals, everything played really well together. And I do think that this may be a byproduct of the fact that it was meant to be DLC. and it was meant to be an addition to the base game that's already there. So getting into this, I just, you know, it's like, for those of you that actually got, you know, this, I think it's called The City That Never Sleeps. That's the DLC for, or part of like the DLC pack for the PlayStation 4 Spider-Man. The story felt weak. It didn't feel like it needed to be a thing
there at all.
Yeah. Like it didn't impact the original story at all. It was just kind of like separate episodic like stories, so to speak, that like overarched over all 3 of the DLC packs. But in my opinion, like, you know, that's just it. The story was the weakest part, but overall, like, I'd still give it a TGR Gold.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, there you go, guys. So we gave it a gold. It's a good game. I think it's a great game to have, obviously, for launch.
Yep.
One of the strongest titles that Sony has for the PS5 currently. And you know, it's a $50 game because they know that it's shorter. To 100% it took me about 17, 18 hours, which is coincidentally how much it took me to finish the first game's just regular story. And I barely did side questing on that game. So
same. It took me roughly around like 20 hours to like finish the main story, plus like a couple of like side quests and the DLC. So yeah, so it was like very, very quick. Yeah, which I like.
I loved it. It in today's world where we have 100-hour games, you know, taking our time, it's like Dragon Quest 11. It's like, thank you for giving me a brief, really well done journey, and I cannot wait to see what they do with the series in the future.
Yes.
Spider-Man 2 is going to be fan-friggin-tastic. So
magnifique.
But anyway, guys, thanks so much for watching. We will catch you on the next one.
Deuces.
All right, and that's our latest review. If you've gotten to this point, we hope that you enjoy the video and hope you give Miles Morales a shot if you haven't done so yet. As always, we thank our patrons, members, and YouTube subscribers, as well as our Twitch subscribers. You guys are the best. Without you, genuinely, we wouldn't be doing this. Your patronage and support will always carry us forward, so thank you again. Special shout out to our 32-bit patrons, YouTube members, and Twitch subscribers: Adrian, Daniel, Felix, Jan, JD, Nico, Shayne. You guys are the top of the crop, so thank you so much for your support. Anyway, guys, thanks so much for listening. Thanks so much for checking out our video, and we hope to see you soon.
Hope you enjoyed the video. If you want to see more and stay up to date, subscribe, hit the little bell, and join our Discord.
If you want to support the channel, please check out our Patreon or hit the join button below. As always, thanks for your support and thanks for watching.